All right, let's talk about intimacy in relationships. This is an incredibly important topic as you are learning how to love yourself, learning how to reprogram how you do love. And the reason why I think intimacy and talking about how you can create intimacy in your relationships is really, it started the idea of intimacy and the topic of intimacy started last week when I had a conversation with a girlfriend, and she was saying to me she just wanted to have an intimate relationship with a man without the sex. And I thought, how is that possible? Because masculine and feminine energies really deal with intimacy in such different levels. And men in particular can certainly have sex without intimacy. That is their gift. And that is part of what drives them. They are the procreators. That's their job, to just have lots of sex. However, we women and the feminine essence beings that we are, we need intimacy to have good, deep, and soulful sex. So that's why I thought it was so important for me to address exactly what intimacy is and how you can create it in the relationships that you are now trying to create from this new level of awareness, this new level of being in love, and this new level of self-love. So intimacy involves, of course, feelings of emotional closeness and connectedness with another person. We know this. This is what we call intimacy, right? Intimacy is when you can freely speak about your feelings. You are in a position of trust with that person. You're comfortable. You feel safe. And it is only until we have these things then we can create intimacy, right? And it applies to, of course, like I said, mutual trust, caring, and acceptance. These are really important characteristics that have to be developed before you can be truly intimate with a person. And we really learn intimacy from our parents and from what we've inherited, just like all of our behaviors around our relationships. But so you have to look at, starting from that point, like what were you taught in as to what is intimate in a relationship? Were you able to see your parents having quiet conversations? Did they wink at each other? Did they hold hands? Did they really have each other's backs? Or were you exposed to a volatile, unsafe type of environment where exposing your vulnerability was considered unsafe? So, look deep into that, because that really sets the stage for how you connect in an intimate way with a person. But further to that, a very important part of intimacy, of course, is sexual intimacy. When we talk about emotional intimacy and sexual intimacy as two separate things. So like I said, men have the ability to separate sexual intimacy and emotional intimacy. They can have sex with a lot of people. That's what the masculine does. They don't necessarily have to be emotionally invested in their partner to have sex or even to have good sex. But for us women to have really good, open, committed, deep, full-on sex, we need to have that component of emotional intimacy. Now, I'm not saying men aren't capable of that, but those are two different relationships. So sexual intimacy, is pretty much a booty call. And if that's what you're into right now, great, go and explore, be safe. However, if you are truly on the path of trying to heal and find a deeply committed soulmate, then you must approach your relationships with the understanding that you must have emotional intimacy first. That is, you must develop trust, you must feel safe, you must feel cared for. And not only must you have these things, you must also be able to contribute the same back to your partner, right? It's a two-way street. So, like I said, emotional intimacy doesn't automatically occur with sexual intimacy. And so people who are sexually involved may not, of course, share their intimate thoughts. But like I said, again, just to reiterate, if you're on that path of wanting that deep soulful connection, you absolutely have to prepare the stage for good emotional intimacy. So what does that look like? Well, there are 4 key factors in creating an emotionally intimate relationship. And honestly, this has to come from yourself. So as we are on this path of discovering self-love and discovering deep soulful connection with ourselves and with our divine feminine essence, right? This is who we are as feminine beings. We need to first factor in creating emotional intimacy is knowing and liking yourself. If you don't truly take the time at this point in your life to really understand what it is you like in a relationship, what you don't like in a relationship, and really understand who you are as you connect in an intimate relationship, you are never going to be able to communicate what you need and what you want in an intimate setting, right? So by coming to know and value yourself, you identify with those innermost feelings and needs, and then you can develop the security to share them with your partner. So it's super important for you to discover what you like in a sexual relationship instead of waiting for your partner to figure it out for you. So this is the mistake we make as women, right? We don't have we weren't given the tools. You know, this is learning. This is just learning because this is all of life. Every step in our lives is about learning something new. And if you can approach this as learning something new about yourself and discovering something amazing about yourself, then you can bypass that shame and fear that we always carry through relationships, especially sexual intimacy in relationships. There's a lot of shame connected with our bodies as women, and I want you to be able to bypass that shame. Just go straight to the idea that you just weren't taught, you just didn't know, and now you're on the path to learning. Okay, it'll make it so much easier. I'm all about bypassing those shame things. If you aren't consciously working on the shame with a therapist or with me and the program, then let's just bypass and go straight to the key factors. So, number 1, know yourself, like yourself. Understand what you like in a sexual relationship. Understand what it means to pleasure yourself. Like, what is it that you love to do? What do you not like to do in an intimate relationship? And I'm talking sexually intimate relationship. So once you've discovered that within yourself, then you are able to do number 2. Not number 2, but key factor number 2. That is, you're able to communicate what you want and what you need to feel safe and secure to your partner. And I'm not saying you need to expose everything, all your deepest, darkest secrets, but as you're discovering yourself and what you like and what you don't like, you decide what your partner needs to know at what point. Okay, don't give it all up. Don't on your first few dates decide, oh, I better tell them I like this and I don't like this, and give them the whole encyclopedia of what you do and do not like. That's going to overwhelm them and probably chase them away. Okay, so you have to cultivate knowing what is really important for you, especially at the beginning of a relationship, especially at the beginning of a sexual relationship. Look, I'm not going to bypass the idea that when we are in relationships, right, we have to have good, healthy sex. That's what bonds us. That's what helps our hormones continue to function, continue to process and grow and form. We need to have that physical touch. We need to know that we're being cherished and that our physical body is being adored on some level. So, it's okay to have friends and relationships with friends where, of course, you share intimate secrets. That's great. But I'm talking about, your soulmate, your opposite in energetic resonance. So if you're a feminine essence, which a lot of us are here, then you're going to want to attract a masculine essence. And now, if you are coming, like I said, if you're coming at them, good morning, Colleen. If you're coming at them with this, I have to give them everything, all the rule books of how I function and what I like and what I don't like. You are, in fact, embodying the masculine essence. Okay. Masculine essence, it's very important to understand the difference between masculine essence and feminine essence, because you yourself have both. And we get to decide when we become the masculine at work, when we got to get shit done, that's masculine energy. But when you're in a relationship with a masculine essenced being, if you come at them with masculine energy all the time, there isn't a good polarity. So what'll happen is, you're not going to want to have sex with them. Your communication is going to suffer. And then the relationship will eventually break down. So in order to have a really good, healthy, juicy, sexually intimate relationship where you are not in addictive sex, this is not about sexual addiction and wanting sex all the time. This is about good, secure, constant connection. There has to be the polarities. You have to have masculine essence with the feminine essence. And if you're a feminine essence being, as I can see most of you are, then it's about cultivating the feminine essence when you're around the masculine. Okay, we'll talk more about that later. So communication, super important. What do you need with your body? Because we're all unique. We all love unique things. What do you need to feel safe, secure, trust? What are the nonverbal parts of the communication that you both need to link into, right? So this is about communicating on a verbal first and then a nonverbal way, because when you start developing trust with communication, then the nonverbal communication becomes clearer, okay? And then you get to really share in that intimate relationship. Voices, the tone of your voice, the gestures, the movement of your head, the flicking of the hair, all those things are beautiful nonverbal triggers to the masculine in your partnership, that you are open, that you're open to receive them. Okay, so communication leads to trust and caring. Next step or key factor in an intimate relationship is trusting and caring for the person. So again, it's really one of the most, or two of the most really important components when you're in an intimate relationship, trust and caring. Because when trust exists, then you feel secure and about disclosing more your intimate feelings. You feel secure about being vulnerable with them, and you are able to be secure in knowing that you're not going to be, ridiculed or rejected, right? So when you can communicate what you need and how you want things, then you can develop this beautiful trust between your partner. And with that trust, and it's both ways. Remember, the masculine in your life is really suffering from the same inhibitions, or not inhibitions, but insecurities as you are in a relationship. They're the same. Just because they've had more sex and there's stigma around men fucking all the time and stuff, that's not all men. Most men are the same as you. In fact, through my many years of doing research into the masculine energy and men in particular, because when I when I divorced and I went through my whole thing, the first thing I felt I needed to do is understand men, because I clearly fucked it up. I clearly got it all wrong. And so what I found through my conversations with male friends and male colleagues was that most men, and I want you to note this, ladies, when you're talking to men, most men are more insecure than women when in an intimate relationship. Because for men, see, men function, in the masculine essence, function as a do or die. It's about do or die for them. And for them, when they fail, it's like a death. They die inside. So they are afraid to even try. They are afraid to approach you. Because if they fail and you reject them, it is like they have been killed. Their ego has been killed a bit. Okay? So it's really extreme for them. For us, it's kind of like, we communicate and flow, right? So I want you to understand that trust and caring goes both ways. They need to trust you, but you need to trust them. But because we're only dealing with you and you can only control yourself, you are going to understand how to communicate. You're going to understand how to create trust and caring within yourself. And then you're going to give it out to your partner so they also can share in the trusting and caring part of your relationship. Super, super important. Caring is really that emotional bond. When we get to trusting and caring, this is when our dopamine starts getting created, right? Dopamine and oxytocin, it's like the caring, the bonding neurotransmitter and hormones. This is what we need, and we need so much more of it now. But if you really want to have that, incredible soulmate connection, this is what we need to do. It's okay, Colleen, you'll get it right now. And so when you trust and care, that leads us to our fourth key factor when it comes to intimacy. And that is honesty. Because when you care about a person and they care about you and you trust that you're on the same team and you both feel safe with each other, remember, you're a team. You're a solid unit in that sense because you're partners, right? That's what we want to create. So when you feel safe, then you can be honest. This is where you can truly open up your heart and really let them in and create the most profound connection of intimacy and love and caring. So when we're sexual with others, it really is helpful to consider what information you need to be honest about, okay? So I'm assuming that we're all here because you want to find that partner, you want to find that soulmate. And I don't use soulmate easily. Soulmate is really that person who is so aligned with your value system, so aligned with your morals, your wishes, your goals on all levels of life. That is a true soulmate. We have lots of soulmates throughout our lives who aren't everything, right? And every partnership doesn't mean they have to provide everything for you. But what they do have to provide is emotional intimacy. Key factor if you want to have an amazing sex life. Okay, so let's do a quick review. Number one, key factor is you have to know and like yourself. Okay, and we're building towards that now. That leads to communication, right? So you can freely express what you want, what you don't want, and that leads to feeling trust and feeling care for that person, as well as you getting it back. And then the final thing is honesty and fully feeling that you can be open and honest and you can open your heart and be completely vulnerable. So, in order to have a good intimate relationship, for us women, we need to have that first in order to open up to have a beautiful sexual relationship. Remember that. Men also want that. They don't just want sex. They don't just want sexual intimacy. Sure, you can have that in your life at various times. And sure, there are some men out there, they don't want to ever be intimate. It's too painful for them. They've decided they're just going to have sex and they don't want to ever open up. And that's fine. But if you're here and you're listening to me, then you are not like that. Women can be like that too. But if you really want to do this work, remember, this is all about learning a new way of being in an intimate relationship. This is a new way of loving. This is how we transform our past wounds and our history and our past trauma from what we experienced with our parents, with former partners, and with generations back. So practice the 4 factors. I'm going to get into the 4 factors plus other practices, and we're going to go through a journey of sacred sexual intimacy for women. It's actually sacred sexuality for women. It's coming up next Saturday. I just want to give you a little heads up with this. I'm going to be sending out a link later on in the group for you to sign up. This is a retreat, a 2-hour retreat. It's going to be not this Saturday. This is the Saturday before Valentine's Day, or what my girlfriends and I like to call Galentine's Day. Thanks, Patty. And this is where we honor ourselves. This is how we learn to develop the most profound intimacy for ourselves first, so that we can communicate what we need in relationship, feel safe, secure, experience trust, and further evolve into the amazing higher feminine beings that I know you are. Okay, so join me next Saturday. Again, the link is not going to be below immediately, but I will be sending out the link later. So thank you for joining me today. Have an amazingly intimately minded day. Take care. Bye.